Good evening. It's 9 o'clock, an hour to go until the polls close, an hour to go until we reveal the findings of the exit poll, an hour to go in the Brexit election. Good evening. It's 6 weeks now since Parliament voted to trigger the Brexit election, and now there's less than an hour to run. Tonight, who'll govern Britain for the next 5 years should become clear, and here from the heart of Sky, we'll bring you every result. To guide us, our political editor, Beth Rigby, and the man who's come to define politics in modern Britain, the House of Commons Speaker for the last decade, John Bercow. More from him in a moment. Well, it could be a long night tonight, and here in our Sky Election Centre, we'll be using all the tools at our disposal to predict its course. That begins in just 58 minutes' time with the release of the broadcaster's exit poll, so often questioned by politicians, but very rarely wrong. It's the moment you learn the likely path of this election. First, though, to our very special guest.
Order! Order! Order!
He's not naturally a quiet man.
Don't gesticulate, don't rant, spare us the theatrics.
He has strong views on a lot of things, so he likes debating.
Quite frankly, young man, you can like it or lump it.
He's done it with absolute commitment, ruthless efficiency, and along the way there's been some collateral damage.
You really are a very, very, very generous bunch of people indeed.
Well, John Bercow, welcome to Sky News. How are you feeling?
Excited and privileged. Privileged to be on the Sky News team for election night. The best, most focused, without question, quickest, sharpest political news team to be found anywhere in the UK.
You are very kind. The exit poll, the first big events of the evening. Very, very important pointer as to how things might go.
Yes, of course, it's important to understand what the exit poll is. It's not just like any other poll. Other polls ask people how they are going to vote. The exit poll, of course, asks people, when they come out of the polling stations, how they have voted. And although politicians don't always like to hear the exit poll on 4 out of the last 5 occasions has been accurate in its basic thrust in predicting either a hung parliament or a majority government.
Pretty good point, sir. OK, that comes up at 10. Also with me throughout the night, our political editor, Beth Rigby. Now, she, of course, has tracked the parties and their leaders throughout this gruelling general election campaign. Beth, well, all that work comes to a conclusion tonight. You're in the warm studio.
I've done a few thousand miles, I think. What an extraordinary period of British politics this is, isn't it? And here we are in the December election, the first in nearly a century. But it is, as everyone will know, our third general election in nearly under 5 years. Yep. And the two contenders this week, they were up and down the country, a dizzying tour as they're trying to pick up votes. Jeremy Corbyn, 15 pit stops in 3 days from Glasgow right down to Bristol. And Boris Johnson, 11 stops, concentrating his efforts in the Midlands and the North in places like Great Grimsby, fighting for every vote right up until the polls close in this awful weather, but they'll still be trying to turn out the vote. I'm
counting down to that polls closing in the exit poll, 56 minutes or so. Well, elections can be difficult to follow, of course, but you'll be able to get all the key data right here. There it is at the bottom of this screen. This is our election video printer. It's going to tell you the result of that exit poll we've been talking about after its release, 10 o'clock, and the latest seats to declare then coming after that. It then keeps a running tally of the number of MPs that each and every one of those parties have won. Well, also here at Sky News, we've always believed that the election night story has told as much outside the studio as here. And tonight, my colleagues will be right across the country, starting with the party leaders. First to the Conservative and Labour camps, and Anna Botting and Sophie Ridge. Anna, any nerves there?
Indeed, so always nerves, not least the counters, Dermot. 12 candidates standing here in the seat of Uxbridge and South Ruislip. As you said, the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, is the incumbent, taking the seat first in 2015 and then winning again here in 2017. We are at the extremities of West London, if I can put it like that, a constituency dominated in part by neighbouring Heathrow Airport. Brunel University is here too, which is where Viscount and that of 2 others will take place tonight, including that of the Shadow Chancellor, John McDonnell. Expecting all the candidates to arrive later, the Prime Minister included. So where is he now? Well, let's take you to Downing Street, and our political correspondent Kate McCann, who has been following the Tory leader for the past 5 weeks. And Kate, the Prime Minister standing by tonight there in Downing Street.
That's right, Anna. Boris Johnson is here in Downing Street behind me, where he will be nervously awaiting that exit poll at 10 o'clock, as the rest of us are. It's been a long campaign for all the candidates. The Prime Minister has travelled over 10,000 miles in this general election campaign, covered every region of the country, and now it all comes down to what happens next. He will be with advisers in Downing Street, talking about some of the very many ways that this election could go next and what might happen next. He's having something to eat and drink, trying to get ready for the long night ahead before he will head to Uxbridge, where the votes will be counted, where you are, Anna, and where I will be later. We saw the Prime Minister casting his ballot this morning in Westminster. He took his dog, Dylan, along with him for that. So a long night ahead. The Prime Minister will head from here to Uxbridge, where he will see out that count, and depending on what happens next, he could be returning to Downing Street, or it could well have another incumbent.
Kate McCann, thank you very much indeed. Well, the declaration for John McDonnell's constituency is due at about 4 a.m. That of Uxbridge, where the Prime Minister is standing, due at about 4:30 in the morning. Well, what about the Labour leader? Let's get the very latest now from Sophie Ridge.
Thank you, Anna. Well, welcome to the Sobel Leisure Centre in Islington North, constituency of one Jeremy Corbyn. This particular area of North London is home to 2 constituencies. There'll be 2 counts going on tonight, Jeremy Corbyn's count in Islington North, and they'll also be totting up the votes in Islington South and Finsbury, which is the constituency of the Shadow Foreign Secretary, Emily Thornberry. To give you a bit of a steer on how long you're going to have to wait to get those results, the Islington South and Finsbury seat normally declares first. Last year it was around 1 in the morning. The Islington North constituency a little bit later. It was about 3 a.m. last time that we heard the results of Jeremy Corbyn's seat, and that's when you're going to be getting the acting returning officer taken to the stage that I hope you should be able to see just behind me, to have her moment in the spotlight announcing that results. That's the Chief Executive of the Council as well. But it's a huge operation on the ground, as these seats always are. They've had 650 people out and about in polling stations across Islington as people cast their ballots. One person who cast his vote a little bit earlier today was the Labour leader himself, and Sky's home editor, Jason Farrell, has been following the Labour campaign and is now outside Jeremy Corbyn's home tonight. Jason, a few nerves, do you think?
Yes, I think, although he didn't look too nervous. I saw him just a moment ago. I'll talk about that in a minute. He's obviously had this 500-mile trek yesterday from Glasgow to London, but he didn't take his foot off the gas. This morning he was out casting his vote, as you say, at 9:30. He was with his wife, Laura. Then he was out campaigning. He stopped off for a few cups of coffee. Then it was back here. I didn't think I'd have much to tell you, but actually, I can tell you he has gone out for dinner tonight. When I was here just about 20 minutes ago, he came out of the house again with one of his advisors and his wife, Laura. I told him he was going off for dinner, and he said that they weren't sure whether he was going to come back here at all, actually. He did tell me that he thought the count in Islington, when I was on the campaign with him, would come back at about 2 a.m. But as you say, previously it's come back a little bit later than that, around about 3 a.m. I think by then he'll have a pretty good idea of the way things are going. When I was here last time back in 2017, they were having a sweepstake back here on what would happen. Obviously, this time, wherever they are, they'll be very much glued to those exit polls, and a lot more up for grabs than who wins the sweepstake.
Yeah, the Labour leaders team and the rest of us as well. Jason, thank you. And of course, it's when that exit poll comes in around 50 minutes' time that the work will really start for the 150 people here in the room. They've already started arriving. Lots of them are on their seats, ready to go just as soon as those ballot boxes start arriving. And we'll, of course, bring you the results as soon as we'll get them. Dermot, in the meantime, back to you in the studio.
OK, Sophie, thank you very much indeed. And thank you, Anna, very much as well. We'll be hearing much more, of course, from you both throughout the evening.